It took 7 years for Doctor Who to attempt another missing episode animation. And after the well-received animation of The Invasion, it was a tough act to follow. In January 2013, The Reign of Terror was released, with episodes 4 and 5 animated. Could this new team of animators live up to their predecessors? Join me in my journey of revisiting Doctor Who's missing episode range as we look back and reflect on The Reign of Terror and ask the question, is the animation as bad as people say? The TARDIS team land in the height of the French Revolution and become deep in the thick of it. Our travellers are imprisoned, almost burnt alive, and ultimately sent to the guillotine. History isn't safe, and neither are the TARDIS crew. The Reign of Terror was the first animation by Planet 55 and was co-produced by Big Finish Productions. Their initial pitch was apparently supposed to be more filmic, but they were convinced to rework their style to match closer to 1960s Doctor Who, especially since it was to fill the gaps of the episodes which survived. Episodes 4 and 5 are missing from the BBC's archive. The rest of the episodes are presented in their original format. Okay. The animation of The Reign of Terror is not well received within fandom. Let's get that out of the way. I think some of the criticisms are a little bit harsh, but it does come from a place of truth. To start off, I have to praise the artwork of the story. The characters and the sets are so detailed and are more realistic than the ones from The Invasion. There's a sense that the telesnaps have come to life. Telesnaps in layman's terms are essentially screenshots of episodes that were taken on first broadcast. To some fans, this is the ultimate goal, to bring back what has been lost. There is some beautiful background art, with animated candles in the offices and creepy crawly spiders in the dungeon. But you don't get much time to admire those because we're stuck in close-ups for the majority of the episodes. These episodes are animated in two different ways. They're either done with a hand-drawn approach, which is a more traditional approach to animation, which takes a lot more time to do, or via a process that the team has coined feeder motion. Feedermation is developed in-house by Planet 55. It takes 2D images and projects them onto a 3D model. Then they can animate it electronically. This type of thing is seen in a lot of animation software nowadays, and the approach has gotten a lot more sophisticated in recent years. The issue with Reign of Terror is combining these two approaches can sometimes be really jarring. They just do not go together. Going from naturalistic rotoscoping movement and then hard cutting to a still image being awkwardly manipulated, it just doesn't work. There just isn't much emotion that can be pulled out in the latter approach. An issue I find with my own personal animations, because they have a similar approach. There's only so much you can pull off with stuff like this. The animation style reminds me a lot of those like make an image talk AI animation software. It's uncanny, it's odd and strange, and the movement doesn't feel human-like at all. But when it works, it's fine. If it's a basic dialogue scene that doesn't require large emotions, it works. The biggest issue with this story is the editing and the direction. Which is to blame, the editing or the direction? I'm not sure. But let's have a look. Many of the shots throughout the story feel unmotivated. You have highly detailed close-ups that have been hand-drawn of a glass of wine, which just isn't that important for the scene. You'd only cut to a close-up if it was important. We cut to close-ups of people's eyes for no reason. We cut between 4 shots within 1 second, no exaggeration, for no reason. My theory to the reason why they've done this is because they just ran out of time to animate the scenes completely. So they had gaps in these sequences and they just had to fill it with something. So they just grabbed what was already animated and just shoved it in. As long as it didn't require any new lip syncing, it works. But the amount of cuts to a shifty eye look is just insane. The most iconic and referenced example is the "it's probably just a chill."
It's probably just a chill.
Yes, but what if it's worse?
That scene in episode 1 is just especially the worst. The second animated episode isn't anywhere near as bad as the first, but my god, I felt seasick after watching this scene. It's so sad as well because the surviving episodes, especially episode 1, has such brilliant direction. You'd think, in theory, that animated episodes with a lot more freedom would have better direction, and it's just sad to see that episode 4 is so rough. Unlike the Invasion animation team, which knew its weaknesses and how to cover it, I feel like Planet 55 didn't have the same knowledge. Cutting from a beautiful hand-drawn shot of the Doctor to a Theatimation stilted shot of the Doctor is really jarring. And the quality difference between the two animation styles is staggering. There's one sequence where it cuts between a close-up of Bill and then it cuts to a slightly further away close-up of Bill, and it's just like, what is this direction? If they cut to another character and then back to a different shot of Bill, it wouldn't have been so jarring. It feels like there is a reluctance to stay on one shot, to experience the shot. It's like they're scared for us to look at a frame longer than 2 seconds as if we're going to start pointing out flaws. I just wish they would commit to a shot and just go for it. This is something that the previous animation, The Invasion, did well. They chose a shot and they stuck to it. This approach just feels like insecure. It's like they're aware that this animation isn't the standard that it should be. But instead of believing in it and believing in their shots, they're trying to distract us. Even though a TikTok-brained person would struggle to keep with this pace. It just feels like there's so many moments where the animators don't know what to feel in the silences. There's so many moments of characters just standing motionless, even at points looking dead into the camera. It's almost like the characters are looking out to the audience asking us what they should be doing. Even some of the beautiful rotoscope work cuts off a bit too early, so they stay on the shot for like a second, where it really needs to be at least 2 to 3 seconds in order to process it. And sometimes these hand-drawn elements are so close up that you can't even tell what's going on. I personally don't think it comes down to the skill of the animators, the skill of the artists. These are clearly people who know how to draw. It's just the direction that is missing. It almost feels like this animation wasn't storyboarded. They just dived straight in. They were in such a rush to just get started. Or it feels like there was a storyboard and then quickly realized, oh my God, we don't have enough budget. We do not have enough time to start doing every single shot that we planned. Let's just start cutting. We got to cut as much as possible and just complete what we can. And look, it's Planet 55's first go at an animation. And unfortunately, it feels like it. It's like they're trialing the software. They're trialing to see if Theatimation will work, which doesn't return for future releases, may I mention. They're trying to see how much rotoscope work they can actually fit in for each episode with the budget. But is this the time to experiment? When you have been given an official release, is this the time to be like, let's trial this to see if it works? I said the same thing about the Web of Fear animation. It just wasn't ready for market. The team weren't ready. They didn't have as much experience with using the software, and you could tell. But with both teams, on their second animation, they've mastered it and they're ready to go. So it's just sad that the Reign of Terror and the Web of Fear are both victims of them trialing new software. Because if you stop and look at every single hand-drawn frame, you'll think, this is beautiful. To say that the whole thing is ugly is just incorrect. It's beautiful artwork, great hand-drawn stuff. It's just the direction and editing. I just think it's important to remember, if you haven't got the budget, keep it simple. Choose your shots to highlight. Rule of thumb for every scene, an establishing wide shot, each character gets a close/mid shot, and then you select your show-off shots, your fancy shots, and then go. How many highlight shots can you afford to do each scene? Trying to fit in like 5 to 10 rotoscope shots in one scene is very ambitious, and I admire that, but is it something you can afford to do? And the answer is clearly no. This story is a difficult one as well, because the audio quality is really rough. It's hard enough to pay attention with the constant cutting to different shots. You're not sure who's talking, where they are in the scene, and then also trying to read subtitles on top of that. It's not a very enjoyable experience, and I find it really difficult to pay attention to the plot, which is the whole point of animating these episodes. If I wanted to be confused, I'd just watch a telesnap reconstruction. But to reiterate, most of my issues are from episode 4. Episode 5 is an improvement. I honestly believe you could fix episode 4 if given time. The infamous "it's probably just the chill" being replaced to a single shot of him saying that line will instantly improve the flow of that scene. I think if the team was given an extra month or two, this release wouldn't have been as lambasted as it was. I don't think the Theatimation approach holds up as well as what the Invasion team did. The more traditional style is classic for a reason. The Reign of Terror just hasn't aged as well. But you really can't fault the team's ambition. Yeah, they were too ambitious, but they were optimistic. They tried their best and quickly learnt the restrictions of animating on such a tight budget. There's a reason why the newer animations don't really have much hand-drawn work, because it takes too long. It's all about cutting corners and finding the most economical way to produce a ridiculously large amount of animation on next to nothing. Ultimately, on this rewatch, my thoughts on the animation have not changed. I feel as if I have a stronger appreciation for the artistry behind the character artwork and the hand-drawn elements, but my disdain for the editing is still there. Although I can understand and respect that budget issues got in the way, it doesn't stop me from disliking it. This just wasn't ready for release, and I think they know that too. So, what did you think of the Reign of Terror animation? Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Josh Nez YouTube channel.